Europe is changing fast. In some cities, you can feel it the second you step off the train. The streets look different, the atmosphere feels different, and locals will quietly tell you the same thing. This is not the place that they grew up in. But then, there's Valencia, a city that still feels safe, still feels Spanish, still feels European. Beautiful streets, ancient history, clean public spaces, families walking at night, and a culture that hasn't been completely swallowed by chaos. So today, we're asking a simple question. What is Valencia doing right? Because after seeing places like Barcelona, Paris, and Lisbon change so quickly, Valencia feels like a warning and a lesson. If Europe wants to survive, cities like this cannot be taken for granted.
We just had the opportunity to see this beautiful church from the inside. This here is Iglesia San Juan de la Cruz, and believe it or not, but it is one of the very first churches that was built after the Spanish took Spain, or the city of Valencia, back from the Muslim occupation. The Muslim occupation was roughly about 500 years in the city of Valencia, and this church, as I said, was one of the very, very first ones that was rebuilt after it went back into the Christian hands after the Reconquista. And this church, believe it or not, is also built on the former grounds of a mosque.
That church is absolutely beautiful. Thousands of years of history, more than 2,000 years of history here in Valencia city. It needs to be protected. And this is why it's so worrisome and why we're posting so many videos about Europe, and particularly recently about here in Spain. Muslims have ruled these lands before, and this beautiful church used to be a mosque. It's absolutely terrifying to me that this could be a reality again in the future if the horrific policies from politicians like Pedro Sanchez are not reversed. The history that is in these streets deserves to be protected. The culture of Spain deserves to be protected. The children and women of Spain deserve to be protected. There's nothing wrong or racist about saying that. And we need to remember these types of historical landmarks and preserve them with everything that we can, because, God forbid, that history repeats itself at a later stage.
Of course, when you think about Valencia, you are thinking about oranges, and rightly so. But please know that the majority of the oranges that are grown in the city of Valencia itself are usually for decorative purposes, and if you're looking for the edible ones, or the ones that are also used for the majority of juices, those are actually grown outside of the city of Valencia, usually more in like agricultural areas. But these ones are very beautiful. Especially if you come at the right time. Obviously they're all really big and orange, but don't try to eat them because they're not very enjoyable.
Plaza Colegio del Patriarca exists because of one man, Saint Juan de Ribera. In the late 1500s, Valencia was one of Spain's most important cities, and Saint Juan de Ribera wanted to create a grand institute to help train Catholic clergy. Juan de Ribera founded Real Colegio del Corpus Christi, and that square was built around that institution.
I know a lot of you people assume that we are making the videos that we make because we're trying to badmouth Europe and because we hate Europe or other reasons that are of negative origin, but it couldn't be further from the truth. Obviously, Luke and I are both Europeans. Luke is from Ireland. I am half German, half Italian, and we actually make these videos because we care deeply about our continent, we care deeply about our countries and all of the other countries that are on the European continent, and we also care extremely deeply about our traditions and about our culture. And that is exactly why we are making the videos that we are making. It's because we love Europe, because we love Eurosummer, because we love experiencing everything that Europe has to offer. And unfortunately, in a lot of ways, obviously due to the amount of crime and due to the amount of immigration that we are experiencing at the moment, we are losing our culture and we are losing our tradition.
Behind me is a statue of James the Conqueror, or James I of Aragon, and in 1238 he captured Valencia from Muslim rule and turned Valencia into a Christian kingdom.
And this here is the man, the legend himself. This is King James of Aragon, and no, not Lord of the Rings Aragon, but a region of Spain. And he is actually the leader of the Reconquista in Valencia. He is the person that we as Europeans can thank for that the Muslim occupation actually ended and was fought against. He then continued to be the king of Valencia.
Rather than simply adding it to his realm, he gave Valencia its own laws and institutions. His victories helped build a powerful Mediterranean empire, and his legacy is so important that Valencians still celebrate the day that he entered the city nearly 800 years ago.
I am very, very happy that King James is still portrayed the way he is in this very prominent place, and also with the sign that says Ribrandola del Hugo Musulman, so liberator of the Muslim occupation, not literally, but you know what I mean. And it's very interesting that it's still the way it is, because obviously year after year there are more and more Muslims joining the country of Spain, immigrating over here, especially since 2015. It has become a lot more intense in the entirety of Europe, but obviously Spain is part of that. And usually what Muslims like to do, and also the European left, is the censoring of these types of places where our own history is being censored. We are not aware anymore what our ancestors actually did and what kind of massive footsteps we as Europeans actually have to fill. And usually, if you look at a lot of the other sort of monuments in the likes of France, in the likes of Germany, they are usually desecrated, censored, sprayed over, or entirely taken down. So I'm very happy to see this still standing the way it is. Valencia is, after Madrid and Barcelona, the third largest city of Spain itself. And I find that quite interesting because you don't actually see a whole lot of graffiti or decay in the city itself. It doesn't really smell bad. Even the main station area is really nice. And I think it's great to see that the people here of the city actually care. Now, I'm not too sure if that is because obviously the tourism sector is quite big in Valencia itself, but so it is also in the likes of Barcelona and so on. And I actually stopped here because there is some graffiti along here, but you really have to actually search to find graffiti on any of the historic buildings. And this is really something that is special, because usually in the majority of European cities nowadays anyway, if historical buildings are being sprayed on, if there's any tags or anything like that, for some reason the cities don't clean it up anymore. So it's really great to see how much work the people around here, or the city, or the locals, I'm not sure, are actually putting in order to keep the city safe and nice. Now, that doesn't mean that Valencia is perfect, of course it isn't, and there are its bad areas here as well, which I'm sure we are going to show you at some stage as well. But just walking around the city, it's actually really nice. In true Spain fashion, of course. Looking at scenes like this, you understand why a lot of Spanish people are saying tourists go home, especially the younger Spanish people feel that way, because obviously there is a very crass housing crisis going on in the entirety of Europe, and Spain is no exception, especially for the younger people that are looking to move out of their parents' home, to create a family, to start living their own life. And of course, a lot of these people are going to be staying in short-term rentals, short-term Airbnbs, and that then occupies a space that could be rented out to, for example, a young Spanish family. Now, what is being discredited with the whole tourists go home thing is that tourism is one of the main sectors of Spain, and if all of the tourists went home the way people are asking for it to happen, of course Spain would lose a lot of employment, a lot of economy, and would probably go down a path that wouldn't be great at all. And there are some new policies put in place now where short-term rentals, Airbnbs, are supposed to be slowly faded out of the economy, I believe, until 2028 or something like that. So maybe we're going to see a change where tourists are going to stay in hotels instead of normal Airbnbs, normal apartments where people are supposed to have a normal life in, instead of renting it out to tourists. Crazy long queues, even now in June. It's not even main summer holiday time as of the recording of this video. And what I find very interesting as well is that, yes, I'm sure the main Catedral de Valencia is absolutely beautiful, but there are so many churches here that you can see, that you can learn about. You don't all have to go to the same church at the same time, and this is beginning of June. Imagine what this looks like in August.
The Valencia Cathedral, absolutely gorgeous, built on an old Roman temple site, believe it or not. And look at the queue of people queuing up to pay to go inside of a beautiful cathedral here. European history, incredible, thousands of years of culture. But apparently the talking point for a lot of people is that white Europeans don't have culture. Is that why people fly from all over the world to see these types of sites and churches? And this goes, by the way, for pretty much every major cathedral and church all across Europe. They've been there, like I've said, for thousands of years. And behind me here, I've got tour groups upon tour groups upon tour groups, information being explained, people flying from China, America, all over the world to come to these historical points. But white people, Europeans, we have no culture. This is one of the oldest civilizations, Europe, on Earth. The founding point of so much incredible things, so much incredible history. Do not even begin to get me started on this talking point. All you have to do is visit, pick and choose any city or town in Europe, and you will understand what I'm talking about here.
Also, don't forget that white people don't have any good food. That's exactly why the entire world is creating European food in their cities.
Go to America, you'll have Italian restaurants everywhere. Greek restaurants everywhere. Polish food, incredible. I can't say the same about British food, sorry, but you guys have some tasty stuff. Ireland, the same goes for me and my people. I don't really like the food so much. The rest of Europe, I absolutely adore it, but historically wise, you cannot make the statement that we do not have culture. We have an incredibly rich, vibrant culture that is older than so many nations are on this earth.
That being said, I would still prefer to eat English or Irish food for the rest of my life over having kebab shop after kebab shop.
Kebab shops, phone shops, vape shops, get rid of it all, send them all back, and bring in fish and chips any day of the week.
Yeah! Pillow version of the jamón ibérico.
I thought that was real ham.
I thought it was real from far away as well, and then I was like, hold on, it's not.
One of the most fascinating things about a lot of European cities, you take a corner, you walk into an alleyway, And look at this. The way that they've worked in these old buildings that very likely used to be inhabited by families now at the moment. A lot of businesses. There's potentially also still apartments up here, and you can walk through these corridors that connect them all together. And then down below you've got these beautiful businesses. Look at these gorgeous tiles here. I love this stuff. Could spend all day, quite literally all day, taking photos of the individual tiles on the buildings. Another city that's great for that, by the way, in Europe is Lisbon. If you're someone that's into that stuff, Lisbon and Greece, you'll find those tiles quite literally everywhere. Just pan up here and it's unreal, gorgeous. And this is actually the apartment building for a lot of the apartments where you would live up there. Can you imagine? One of those apartments up there. I can't imagine how expensive it must be being over this retail area, and we're quite literally in the center of the city too.
Also have all of the traditional clothes around here. It's beautiful. It's actually a tailor. I think
this
you
is
can
a tailor.
probably order custom pieces that are historically accurate.
Traditional Spanish dress.
Wow.
How beautiful. Old Singer sewing machine from Germany, but you have the beautiful, the rosaries, very traditional Spanish Catholic dress. Gorgeous.
Whenever you see an open door or an open gate, pretty much anywhere in Southern Europe, so the likes of Spain, Portugal, Greece, Italy, all of those countries, do look inside, and if you can, go inside, because a lot of times you will have these beautiful walkthroughs where it's usually not as hot because obviously it's in the shade and the wind is kind of going through, or sometimes, and that's the special thing, that's kind of like a hidden gem, is when you have those interior yards. Usually there's like a little bit of a fountain, or maybe a Mary statue or something like that. In Milan, a lot of times for some reason you can see flamingos and stuff like that in the interior yards. So when you walk through Southern European cities, make sure to look whenever there is an open door, because usually there's a little bit of a gem that awaits you. By the way, yes, we are praising Valencia, but of course Valencia has its own issues and its own faults. But a lot of people keep commenting that main station areas in and around Europe are always the worst that a city has to offer, which is totally incorrect. In Valencia, for some reason, this is actually the main station area here. The house that you see here at the very end of the street, that is the main station. So walking around here, you see a lot of people are out and about, are having a nice time. Fountains, there is actually some greenery here as well. Nobody is sitting on the greenery. No graffiti, no unrest, no drug addicts, no, I don't know. It's very strange.
No gangs of Moroccans attacking you for your gold necklace.
It doesn't smell like pee.
Nobody's pulling a machete out trying to take my wedding ring off. None of that's happening here. It's all very relaxing.
It's nearly like it feels foreign right now to even be here. It's very strange.
Beautiful Valencia City Hall, and look what it's overlooking. Something I really appreciate about this city actually is how open it feels. Sometimes when you have very old historical cities and historical city quarters, they can feel very cramped because the alleyways can be very tight, especially in cities, older cities, places like Italy for example, and a lot of the other older cities as well here in Spain. You'll have very cramped, tight alleyways. Valencia though feels open, breathable, and it is also very green as well, and I love that.
It really feels like Valencia was built with grandiosity in mind.
Yeah.
So like somebody actually went and purposefully said this needs to be the most pompous and the most grandiose city out there. And it's red.
Hey, stop jaywalking.
We're always talking about the awful first impression people must have when they arrive into major European cities. Now this is the polar opposite. This is actually the station where we arrived with the high-speed train. It's a super historical building. It's being renovated right now there and also on the inside, so I'm sure soon it will be absolutely beautiful when everything is being renovated. I hope obviously historically accurate, and everything is going to be put in place and sort of modernized in a functional way, I suppose. But other than that, there's nothing going on. It's very quiet. There are some cafes here. You have the trains. You can get some sunblock if you want. A lot of people are asking for the sunblock today, apparently. And then you have a bullfighting arena here on the side. Also a very historical building. I'm sure a lot of people have an issue with bullfighting. Everybody has an issue with a different thing, but it is tradition and it's part of Spanish culture, and it should stay part of Spanish culture. I love the historical ticket booths in the station, by the way, and I hope that Valencia never gets rid of it, because this is probably the most beautiful entry to a station in probably all of Europe that I've seen so far.
If you're looking for an incredible place to eat, this is Los Toneles. They serve patatas bravas with spicy sauce, ice-cold beer and wine. Absolutely delicious food for a fraction of the usual tourist prices. They also have traditional Valencian paella. All in all, this place was an absolute 10 out of 10.
Well, the weather has unfortunately taken a turn for the worst. Usually this time of the year, especially here, June, July and August, you've got perfect weather every day, other than today, of course. When we want to show you guys how nice this beach area is, the weather's not great, but trust me, this is gorgeous. For the last 4 days that we've been here, it's really felt like a perfect little break away from the typical misery that we are exposing for you guys in the European Union. Just over this way, we have a neighborhood that's known as El Cabañal, a traditional, authentic fishing village, or at least that's what it was for a very long time. Believe it or not, it was an independent fishing community. It was broken away, not even a part of Valencia, for quite a while, actually a few hundred years, up until 1897 when it incorporated itself into Valencia. Very nice place, right next to the beach, kind of cuts through the city, so you've got the city behind El Cabañal, and to the front you've got the beach. Plenty of hotels, nice accommodations for you to stay in, and it's not going to be as pricey as the historic center is. So if you want pricey 5-star nice hotels surrounded by the beautiful history that we've shown you in this video, check out the historic core. But if you're someone like us who wants to be close to the beach and in a more authentic environment and setting with tapas bars and real authentic Valencian life, check out the El Cabañal area. You also have gorgeous backdrop off there way in the distance of mountains, and nature actually quite literally surrounds all of Valencia. So if you are someone that likes to go out hiking, there's plenty of options for that too. And you've got this massive beach, by the way. Look how wide this beach is. So you've got water activities usually during the day, and all across up and down this beach here you've got nice hotels and plenty of places to get food and drink as well. Hola!
They're also doing nice activities here every single day, so you kind of see people play beach volleyball, or they do like boot camps, playing frisbee, all of that type of stuff. So there's usually always something going on, and I think even today I actually quite like it this way because it's not as busy. It's a little more calm. Yes, the weather is only so, but the last few days it's been really hot. So I think it's good to have a little bit of a change as well, and not only dying in the direct sun.
True. The locals as well, Valencian locals, incredibly friendly, very warm, welcoming. It doesn't feel as hostile as a lot of other cities. For example, there's a huge movement at the moment in Barcelona, which has actually made headline news, pushing back aggressively against tourism. Valencia, slightly more off the beaten path than Barcelona, Madrid, and the Canary Islands and Mallorca and a lot of these other places such as Ibiza and stuff like that. So you are going to get a little bit more of a unique, authentic experience here in Valencia. And it is considerably cheaper as well.
It also feels a lot more conservative and traditional, where if you look at Barcelona, yes, Barcelona also has a lot of culture going for it, but it seems to be very much on the left, obviously, with its history and everything like that. And I feel like Valencia is a little more traditional, a little more conservative, at least feeling-wise. And we haven't had any issues with any locals. So I think this area here is really, really nice. And I quite enjoy Valencia. By the way, they also speak a variety of Catalan here, which I wasn't aware of before we came, so I thought that was really interesting.
Those are some big beautiful flags, I have to say. To the left, Valencia. To the right, the national flag of Spain. Beautiful. I actually wish we in Ireland, back home in my own country, we had flags even this size. I've never even seen an Irish flag the size of this one here. Same goes for Germany. National pride needs to be normalized, but from here on the beach of, in my opinion, one of the coolest cities that I've seen in a long time here in Europe.
Easily, yeah.
In Valencia.
So nice.
I want to remind you all that Jesus Christ is King.
And God bless you all.
And
See you
I'll
in the
see you
next
guys
one.
in the next one.
Bye.
Bye bye.